Apologize to all my guests for the delay, but Hillary Clinton was speaking live, and joining me on the discussion on the rise of the right is Seshadri Chari, Sushant Sareen, Tariq Fateh and Arison Singh on the one side tonight. On the other side, we have Sudhindra Kulkarni, columnist and author, Tasleem Ahmad Rahmani, Professor Rizwan Kaiser of Jamia Millia Islamia, Kancha Elaiya, the Dalit activist and author, Sujot Bhadra of the APDR, and Sudhir Mishra, filmmaker. So we have a big panel, and so I'm not going to take turns, so feel free to come into the debate. And what I'll try to do is look at what has happened in America, this whole talk about the rise of the right, and then let's try and look at a global and an Indian context to what has happened here, and lay this in context. So if I can request, to just start off the debate to go to Seshadri Chari, member of the National Executive and convener of the Foreign Affairs Cell of the BJP. If you look at the American election, my view, and I just start by laying my view and then we'll open this up, is that there was so much focus on Donald Trump and the fact that Donald Trump is bad and that this individual is bad. There was so much focus on the individual that Hillary Clinton's campaign never looked at the underlying issues that face the American people. For example, the specific point which Donald Trump repeatedly raised about radical Islamic terrorism. Now we look at that kind of issue and it was almost dealt with by contempt by the Hillary campaign. Just like when you pick up the issue of terrorism in India, very often it is dismissed as an unreal issue by political parties and politically correct groups in India who deny the fact that there is concern over what is being described as radical Islamic terrorism. In America, should the Hillary Clinton have been more realistic about it in the context of the overall discussion on the rise of the right? Seshadri Chari, you can begin that, and by the way, feel free to come in, any of the other panelists, please. Seshadri Chari, yeah.
Right. Arnav, I think you have hit the nail on the head. You are bang right as far as what you have said is concerned. In fact, you have taken words out of my mouth, I should say, because even I feel that Hillary Clinton saw a little bit of vulnerability in her opponent, Donald Trump. Two basic vulnerabilities. One was that he was open to kind of character assassination. And number two, he did not enjoy the support of his own party. So he is someone who doesn't have the support of his party, who is an upstart, who doesn't have a political background, and his character is vulnerable for attack. This she calculated. Her campaign managers must have calculated all this from a point of view of taking him out of the campaign totally, just as she managed to take Bernie Sanders out of the campaign in her own party, calling him a socialist and a communist. So her campaign managers probably tried this. But where the campaign went wrong was, Trump turned out to be a person with ears to the ground. There was job loss. There was also an issue of terrorism. There was also an issue of insecurity. And there was also a little bit of an identity crisis on the background of Brexit.
Yes.
And also the unending line of people coming out and coming in as refugees. And all these issues were all clubbed together in the US mind.
But what happened, Seshadri?
Unfortunately, Hillary Clinton's campaigners failed to look at all these things.
But what happened, Mr. Chari, is that while all of this was going on, Hillary Clinton's campaign somewhere began to feel, and I think, that you can focus only on the personality of Donald Trump and you win the election. I think what's happened here, Tasleem Ahmad Rahmani and Professor Rizwan Kaiser, is that there is a lesson in the Indian context as well. Because these issues are now global issues. If you talk about, if Donald Trump talks about radical Islamic terrorism, then the question is radical Islamic terrorism a reality or a myth? Are the actions of the ISIS and the Al-Qaeda examples of radical Islamic or Islamist terrorism, or is it terrorism devoid of religious invocation or radicalization by those who execute them? Now these issues, when there is terrorism happening globally, are relevant issues. Hillary Clinton's campaign and some political parties in India think these are not relevant issues, but they are. And going forward, they will be. Yes, yes. Yes, Professor Kaiser.
In the course of the campaign, Mr. Donald Trump not only focused on radical Islamic terrorism, but he was someone who used venom against blacks, Hispanics, LGBT people, and minorities. So it is not just the question of radical Islamic terrorism, but then his entire tenor was against Islam and against Muslims. No, as far as the refugees coming to America,
Sushant Sarin,
going to different parts in Europe,
Professor Kaiser, listen, what I'll do today is go back and forth and try and link what is happening, and I'll get Sushant Sarin on the other side, please. I'll go back and forth and I'll link what is happening in America today, the Indian context, and my question would be, Sushant Sarin, and let's have everyone on the debate. My question would be, would one describe the Bodh Gaya blast by the Indian Mujahideen in Bihar in 2013 as an act of radical Islamic terror or radical Islamist terror or simply terror? Now, when we ask these questions, someone's going to say, oh, you're being extremely politically incorrect. Equally, would you describe Ayman al-Zawahiri as the head of a radical Islamic or radical Islamist terror outfit called the Al-Qaeda, or just a terror outfit? Some people have taken political...
Let us also focus on anti-black
No. You focus on what I'm telling you. Terrorism is an issue. No, I'm sorry. No. So what?
There are a whole lot of
Sir, hear me. Sushant Sarin will respond. Sushant will respond.
I'll tell you what has happened is... this political correctness has been taken to ridiculous extremes. Now, very frankly, even we are erring on the side of political correctness in our national discourse. For example, I have absolutely no compunctions in saying that if an act of terrorism is carried out in the name of Christianity or Hinduism or Sikhism, it is Sikh terrorist, it is a Hindu terrorist, it is a Christian terrorist, and if it is carried out in the name of Islam, it's an Islamic terrorist. If the guy is invoking a particular ideology, a particular religion, then who am I to deny him that right? I must point him out to be what he is, number one. Number two, it is the hypocrisy, the superciliousness of the so-called liberals or the so-called left liberals which is responsible for the kind of situation which is happening today. And there are innumerable examples of this. And the attitude of most of this lot is, I know what you want, I know what you need, I will decide for you what is right and what is
Sudhir
wrong.
Mishra,
if you say
Tasneem
that I am
Rahmani,
a patriot, I am a nationalist, then you are a warmonger. If you say that if the Pakistanis are sponsoring terrorism in India and the Pakistanis must be paid back in the same coin, you are a warmonger. That if you turn the other cheek, then you are all right. China is a neighbor of India, so India must behave properly. But if India is a neighbor of China, China can do whatever it wants to do with us. If I point that out, I am a warmonger. This is the kind of attitude which has created a reaction, and this reaction is not just in India, it is there in the US as well. There are serious political concerns, there are serious economic concerns, there are sensitivities of people, there are social stresses which are building up, and most of the left liberals say that look, we know what is good for you, don't talk about it.
By the way, can I on that, Sushant Sarin, Sushant Sarin,
those things have to be addressed.
Sushant Sarin, just one point. You said twice out there, you said left liberal. I just want to say one thing. Sudhir Mishra just coming to you. I just want to make one point. Sushant Sarin, there's nothing called a left liberal. It's the world's biggest oxymoron. A leftist can never be liberal. And a person who is a liberal can never be a leftist. So I don't know where the left liberal concept comes from. Okay, so anyway, you see, Sudhir Mishra, thanks.
It's actually the leftists and the liberals. And
leftists cannot be liberals. All right, Sudhir Mishra is coming in on this. Sudhir Mishra.
Even the liberals are not really liberals, they're mostly pseudo-liberals.
Sudhir Mishra, please.
I can't hear you.
Sudhir Mishra, go on. Let's open up the debate.
No, I mean, what are we talking about? Are we talking about America? Are we talking about India?
We are talking, Sudhir Mishra, we are talking about the linkages between what has happened.
There are genuine problems that Hillary Clinton's campaign missed.
Can we have?
Is absolutely true.
Everyone's.
That she addressed the individual and not the concerns of her own constituency and a large population of the blue-collar white American worker is true. But that you choose someone as misogynist and as defining everybody as the other is kind of perplexing to me. So if you insult us all, I mean, then how am I supposed to react to you? That's my problem.
1 second.
With it all.
Suppose a question were to be put.
I don't know whether I'm a liberal or I'm not. I'm a scientist.
No, 1 second. Sudhir Mishra, equally, please consider.
Yeah.
No, but I want to know, Arnab, how much have people actually studied the campaign of Donald Trump? You know, you pick out one or two maybe obnoxious statements, maybe somewhat ridiculous statements, and you build up this entire demonization around a man.
I saw the entire
to have actually
debate,
won an election in the US, right?
No. 1 second. Gentlemen, see.
Well, he has. Of course, he has.
You can talk about those three debates, but the fact of the matter is, the fact of the matter is, he touched upon the issue.
I'm not upset about that. Everybody is a billionaire. Hillary Clinton's pretty rich.
Sushant, Sudhir Mishra, 1 minute. Can I just say one thing here? You see, I think, Sudhir Mishra, what happened is, today there is a sense of a moral loss that how could you make Hillary Clinton lose? You know, that people crying, a sense. No, 1 second. Now, 1 second. Sudhir Mishra, see, why such intolerance? Why can I not have a different point of view?
No,
I find, Sudhir Mishra,
Mr. Mishra, rather leave this country than live in a country in which Mr. Modi was to become Prime Minister.
Mr. Mishra, just listen to it, you know. This is not about Trump. And can I just please 1 second request you to listen? I can't listen this way. Mr. Mishra, on a fundamental point, we have terrorism in this country, in this world today, right? Now, were the Charlie Hebdo attacks and the Paris attacks a consequence of radical Islamic or Islamist terror, or have they nothing to do with it? You can't respond to this question by saying, no, 1 sec, Sudhir Mishra, listen to me.
Of course they have.
Listen.
Are
Bhai, listen to me, no, then why did Hillary Clinton not use the word radical Islamic terrorism? Why didn't she?
What words she used?
No, what words she uses are important.
I have no.
No, why would she not use those words? No. 1 second, Sudhir Mishra.
I have no love lost for Hillary Clinton.
Sudhir Mishra.
I think she must have.
Sudhir Mishra, what words? Words. These are not about words. This is not about words. This is not about Sudhir Mishra. Mishra.
I have a point of view. Hillary Clinton has another point of view.
I'm not about discussing it. No, don't take it personally. No, this is a debate. This is a debate. This is a debate, Sudhir Mishra. There's not jumping. The question is, and I want Tariq Fateh also.
But don't put me in Hillary's camp.
I am not, Where did I say that? I'm not putting you in any camp. I'm just discussing this issue. See, I'm trying to come to the core of it. The core of it is, across the world today, there is a great concern on the issue of terrorism. Now, if somebody said, would you call Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi as merely the terrorist, or would you call Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi as the head of a radical Islamic or radical Islamist terror outfit called the Al-Qaeda, or just a terror outfit? Now, problem is, if people like Hillary Clinton have become so politically correct that they say, we will not use the word radical Islamist terrorism, then that too is a form of appeasement. Just that there is appeasement, and in the choice of the words, there's a fundamental issue which comes to the fore. Please abuse Donald Trump. I have no love lost for Donald Trump. I too think he's a misogynist, by the way. But the issue is not about whether Donald Trump is a misogynist. The issue is about why you don't want to talk about terrorism. Why you don't want to talk about the grave inequality in your society. Why you don't want to talk about illegal immigration. Why you don't want to talk about, why you don't want to talk about dole politics. And why you don't talk about the fact that whether in America or in India, it has become fashionable to disrespect the Republic. Why in America and in India, it has become fashionable for some people to disrespect the nation. So the rise of the right, both here and in the United States, has as much to do with nationalism as anything else. So please look at it in a broader sense, and I think out of this glowering sense of hurt today that the Hillary camp feels, that how could we lose? They must look within and ask themselves why they lost. That's the simple point I'm making. Tariq Fateh on the debate. Tariq Fateh.
You see, there's a contempt for the working poor from the left. The very people whose complete ideology is to stand up for the people at the bottom have nothing but contempt for white people who are termed as trailer park trash. The trash has come back to slap the pseudo-leftists in their face. Not just that, the sense of entitlement that a woman who is on the take by Saudi Arabia with $25 million in her pocket to have the audacity to come to the country that was attacked by Saudi Arabia and tell them, we will not even mention the word that this country was attacked by Islamic terrorists. And you add into that the entire liberal segment of society, which are basically upper class established people with links to the establishment, or the leftists like Bernie Sanders or other wings who may be good at heart but do not even understand that when they side with Islamist terrorists around the world, they are nothing more than Sharia Bolsheviks.
No.
And they're destroying...
Tariq Fateh, just to summarize the little point, and I'm going to everyone here. So I'm glad that we are looking at this issue in depth, because I believe the analysis of Hillary Clinton, and I must say that what the American media has done this time is embarrassing. You cannot take it to this level. You know, you can be critical, and I think it is very right of the American media to seriously ask questions about the kind of despicable language, tonality, misogyny, you know, of the words of Donald Trump. They were unacceptable. But what the American media has gone to the extent this time of using expletives, Sudhindra Kulkarni, I have seen so-called anchors abuse in language which is abominable, disgraceful and shameful, and they are being cheerled by the rest of the media saying go ahead and abuse, and there was a competition among people on using language that is indescribable, and these people call themselves journalists.
But Arnab,
so why don't while they did that, so the focus was so much on the personality.
By JFK and Marilyn Monroe.
This election was not about whether Donald Trump is good or Hillary Clinton is bad or vice versa. This election was about something the American media forgot, which is that on fundamental issues there was a disquiet in American society. After all, Sudhindra Kulkarni, is a lot of inequality in America. It's a reality both in America and in India. And certain sections of the media were blind to it. And Hillary Clinton, in my view, came across as classical, pampered, corrupt, untrustworthy member of a political and social elite. Sudhindra Kulkarni.
You know, I largely agree with your brief analysis of why Hillary Clinton lost. But I want to go back to an earlier issue that you raised.
Sure.
Islamist terrorism is a threat to the world, entire world, including Muslim countries.
True.
And therefore, there should be no ifs and buts. And there should be absolutely no compromise and no tolerance in fighting Islamist terrorism unitedly. And the lead must be taken by the Muslim community themselves, because this is perversion of Islam. Because Islam, in my opinion, is a religion of peace.
Can I intervene for 1 minute?
No, but I want to go back to...
Can I just give 10 second intervention? Sorry, no, sorry. I'll continue your point. I'm going to come back. Sorry for intervening. I just wanted to come in at that time. You see, what happens is, there is terrorism globally. The fact of the matter is you can't be in denial about religious radicalism, whether it may be Islam, Hinduism or Christianity or any other religion. But one has got to decide today whether you want to be politically correct about an issue or speak about it directly. People of America, in my view, wanted to hear Hillary Clinton speak about it directly. She thought she would get away with doing appeasement, saying, I'm not going to say anything that upslaps the Muslim community. In that, there is an underlying presumption that the Muslim community will be upset if somebody talks about radical Islamist terrorism. I think Muslim community would not be upset. They would be more upset with Hillary Clinton refusing to call a spade a spade.
No, but
this is the same kind of appeasement that, Mulayam Singh Yadav and others do in India, where you refuse to talk about, the real root of the problem and the fact that there is some people who have radicalized it. Yes, go ahead, and then I'm coming to the others also.
But
that's why I'm going back to the subject.
See, our fight against Islamist terrorism must never be reduced to fight against Islam. This is the bottom line. Or against Muslims in general. At the same time, you see, Islamist radicals and Islamist terrorists are themselves a right-wing party. You know, they are right of the right. And therefore, that is part of the overall rise of the right around the world.
Yeah.
You know, the bigotry, division on the lines of religion or ethnicity is all part of the rise of the right. And therefore, if we want to fight this, we have to go back to the values of compassion, of human solidarity, global cooperation.
What is
and you mentioned inequality. You see, right itself has given rise to inequality.
Can I give a different perspective on this? Seshadri Chari, just coming to you, I just want to get, by the way, Kancha Ilaiya, Taslim Rahmani and RSN Singh, etc., Sujata Badra, feel free to come in any time in the debate. So I'm not particularly taking turns and I'm not going to call people up. RSN is coming in. RSN.
Arnab, just a minute. If you want to categorize this at right wing or left wing, I am not sure about it, but I would distinguish by saying some people who call spade a spade and others who try and intellectualize everything that confronts you. The fact of the matter here is that till 80s what had happened was that all terror was basically driven by political ideology, but after 80s what happened was that the driving force was religion, and this happened in the war against Soviet Union in Afghanistan, where the jihadi machinery was created to kill communism. The two clashed and the jihad scored over temporarily over communism. Yeah, but what has happened in our case is that after that we have been hit by both, by jihadism and Maoism. So, but there is a reluctance to believe that, and exactly the people of the world are asking across the Western countries and Europe that tell me why did 9/11 happen? Similarly, people in India are asking, Mr. Rahmani, people in India are asking that give us one good reason why have we been unremitting victim of jihadi terror. Is it for Kashmir? No, sir. It is because we belong to a particular religious, cultural stock. If you can give me an answer today, Mr. Rahmani, that why have we...
All right. 1 second now. Stop at this point. Stop at this point. 1 second now. Rahmani is responding. Rahmani ji, boli. Rahmani ji, your turn. RSN pull back.
And therefore you cannot just intellectualize it and leverage over over the media and others as it happened in the US.
Don't stretch the argument. Don't stretch the argument. I feel, if I may, that when there is a problem and you don't recognize it, and the problem remains Taslim Rahmani, and it stays for a long period of time, and you still don't recognize it, and when you're politically correct, then over a period of time people become frustrated and they begin to have faith in parties that represent some kind of action. So, I'm not taking an extreme point, but you look at the erosion of this so-called pseudo left liberal worldview or whatever you call it, when the BJP, which is a right of center party, a party which has strong views on Article 370, Uniform Civil Code, a conservative line on internal security and immigration, comes to power 282 seats in 2014. And don't forget, Taslim Rahmani, that the BJP won handsomely the Assam elections, where illegal immigration from Bangladesh was a significant political issue, election issue. Now look at that in the context of what is happening in America, the statements of Clinton vis-a-vis Mexico, building a wall, etc. And you will find general similarities out here. People are concerned about their cultures, their way of life, their language, illegal immigration, terrorism, radical Islamist terrorism. And these are issues that people expect responsible politicians to address. Hillary thought she could just attack Donald Trump, which she has the right to, but she had to address these issues as well. Taslim Rahmani, please draw the link in a broader paradigm.
Yeah, you see, if you analyze the US elections in a wider perspective, you have to go back. If you analyze all the elections for last 1 decade, you will find that the right side people is getting victorious everywhere in the world.
Why?
And
But
I'm
why?
wondering that the Donald Trump has won. The day he was declared as the candidate from the Republican Party, I knew that he will win the elections. He will win the election.
No.
And it is the process continued for last one decade.
You oversimplifying it. Tasneem Ramani.
In Egypt.
Tasneem Ramani, I know the threat. I know the threat.
Everywhere these right-wing people are winning the elections.
You see,
so you can in India,
why are they winning it? Because
why center right? But I said the right. There is
because
no
they're fighting
right,
fascism.
there is no center left.
Because the right wing is fighting fascism.
Left.
No, okay. Can I, Tariq Fateh, can I just...
Why is Le Pen winning?
Can I have the guest
in France?
Can I make a point? Tariq Fateh. Tariq Fateh. I'd like Kanchai Ilaiah to come in. No, I like...
These are the religious forces.
Okay. Tasneem Ramani, I want to now get... I now want to get...
And the liberal people, the so-called liberal people,
Kanchai Ilaiah and Seshadri
people are going out of power.
Now, 1 second. You are just restating yourself. 1 second. This cannot be a lament. Liberal people are going out of
To
power.
the extent that you start lying to the people.
That's not the issue.
No, it can't be a lament.
Look at the Austrian election.
Can you
Look at in Hungary. Look at Poland.
No. Okay, can I have Tasneem? Can I have Kanchai Ilaiah and Seshadri Chari?
Basic flaw in this whole argument.
1 second. Yeah. Yes, Seshadri Chari.
These are only a few examples.
Seshadri Chari and Kanchai Ilaiah. Seshadri Chari, before I come to you.
I think, Arnav, there is a basic flaw in this whole argument. I think there is a basic flaw in this whole argument that all over the world, right is winning and left is losing. If Donald Trump is winning and he is a right, do we also say that Hillary Clinton was leftist?
No, Hillary Clinton
was she propagating
far
a
from it.
leftist idea?
Far from it. You see, can I say one thing?
Right and what is left?
Can I?
This whole narrative.
Yeah.
Arnav, this whole narrative of right versus left
is a wrong narrative.
Absolutely archaic and useless.
That's the
and
point.
It holds no water.
That's the point.
What you said in the beginning was absolutely right. Let us remember one thing. Unlike India, in the US, if you call a spade, people appreciate it. If you call your nationalist, people appreciate it. And they don't have to face a volley of award wapasis.
No, Aruna.
They don't have to face the award wapasis.
Kanchai Ilaiah.
The basic difference between...
Kanchai Ilaiah, may I put a question to you? Kanchai Ilaiah, may I put a question to you? Before you, may I put a question to you, Kanchai Ilaiah?
Remember.
Yeah. I was just thinking about what was saying. And Kanchai Ilaiah, you've been fighting, crusading for equality, for the destruction of the caste system, taking away all these orthodox practices which have no place in our contemporary Indian life. Kanchai Ilaiah, I feel, and this is not a comment on you, but I will say this today, that if in this country you take on Pakistan, you are called a Sanghi. In this country, you question people who eulogize Burhan Wani, you are called a Sanghi. And it is this intellectual vacuousness of the pseudo-left liberal elite that is leading to their destruction. They have no substance. You should see the arguments of some of these people who make these arguments. They're not the kind of reasoned arguments that Sudhindra Kulkarni and you are putting today on the program. My point is, now I want to come to the point of inequality. On the issue of inequality, there is huge inequality both in India and the United States. And we cannot be blind to the fact that this inequality leads to resentment and ultimately forces a change. How many, Kanchai Ilaiah, left-leaning, so-called left-of-center governments in India or the United States have addressed the inequality problem? How many, has the gap between the rich and the poor not grown in India? Is that not one of the reasons why there was resentment against the Congress government? Today when you go to the United States of America, don't you see people homeless squatters right outside the White House? Is there growing income inequality in America or not as well? So the issues are very similar in a way. The rich are growing richer and the poor are growing poorer both in India and the United States. And you can't have Hillary Clinton come there, or for that matter Rahul Gandhi come there and say, I will deliver the poor people in this country. What have you been doing? Donald Trump completely was correct when he said, what did you do for the last 20 years?
No, Aruna, the US election actually gave a result exactly opposite to what you have been arguing. The US election result that gave victory to Donald Trump is basically anti-globalization, anti-liberalization, and a reverse nationalist process. And this is what Clinton and even Obama did not understand. Now, you have been a proponent of liberalization, globalization, disinvestment.
Yes.
But Trump was in favor of the local Native American job creation and isolationism. And people, the majority working class went with that.
Yes. And why?
Now, this is the trend in Europe, this is the trend in America. And on the question of Muslim issue, my point is, Trump campaign has crossed the border of tackling the question of terrorism, but it has settled down on the issue of civilizational confrontation. No. That is Huntington theory. My worry is, okay, he must have won. But if this led to the clash of civilization between Muslim world and Christian world,
Dr.
it will not save India too.
Dr. Elia, can I, Dr. Elia, just present a contrary perspective? Just hear me on this and disagree with me and take me on if required. Because I feel here that the people who feel that they have the high moral ground, those television anchors in America who abuse on television. And it was turned into a fine art. Mm-hmm. You abuse, you use language that would be censored, and then you say, oh, I'm so liberal. Right? They must today do some soul searching. The America, I think sections of the American media should do the soul searching. But I want to go back to the issue of why this has happened. You see, sociologically, Kancha Elia, what has happened today is
party debates.
No. So Kancha Elia, can I just give? Okay, Tariq Fateh wants to make a point. Go on.
And it took one side.
Arnab, this is a clash of civilizations.
One side.
It is the clash of civilizations. It is Muslim personal law against universal civil code. It is gender equality versus polygamy. It is sacrificing animals versus loving animals. It is about giving equality to gays and lesbians versus hanging gays and lesbians. It is about supporting the
Professor Kaisar
as against keeping them as slaves.
Yeah,
this is a fight against Saudi Arabia and Iran by the rest of the democratic liberal world.
I think I have never seen a debate being conducted on television which tries to enter the entire American election as monocausal. You are looking at the victory of Mr. Donald Trump as a consequence of the kind of position that he has taken on radical Islamic terrorism.
Possibly.
Large number of issues that really concern American people, they responded to those very issues. But at the same time, let us not forget the fact this American election has been terribly polarizing on the question of the rights of blacks, on the question of the rights of Hispanics, on the question of LGBT. You are making it. You are
under Obama. The blacks have suffered.
No.
Even Donald Trump was not addressing it.
We don't know. One second. Can I? RSN is countering. RSN is countering. Then I'll come in. Yeah.
I am just interested in the fact that how does it impact on India? Now, what happened in this elections was that Hillary Clinton's campaign, right from funding to everything, we had a very heavy dose of Wahhabism. Indirectly, there were also insinuations made that people like Zakir Naik have been facilitated directly or indirectly by Hillary Clinton. So there was a heavy dose of Wahhabism. There was a heavy dose of Saudi Arabia in the election, and we also know that Hillary Clinton has been leveraging on the NGOs everywhere in the world, to the extent that it is attributed that the Arab Spring she had a major role in so-called Arab
No, there's a lesson in this.
Many, let me tell you, some 2-3 agitations here in India. It was Clinton's technology. I don't want to go into those agitation, otherwise everybody will jump from his seat today. So it was not an ordinary election. When you are talking, yes, I agree with Mr. Chari that you may not call them leftists, but if you call them, whatever, category you want to assign, you may call them liberal. They have been leveraging on the Wahhabis, they have been leveraging on the so-called liberal media, they have been leveraging
can I, Arisen?
Thank God, to that extent, India has been saved.
Arisen, with your permission, just want to go back to the core issue that I'm raising at this point, please. Please understand. Everybody must understand, and Sudhir Mishra, what is happening today is happening worldwide. There is a media today in India, and there is a media today in America. And they have an affliction. That is called the PLU syndrome. People like us. For example, in Lutyens, Delhi, there is a media which has suffered from a PLU syndrome. So the elite media loves the elite politicians and they're all one cozy club. Now this PLU media does not have its ear to the ground as far as the real politic is concerned. And both in America and India, and we are looking at the parallels today, I would say today, both in India and America, India 2014 and America 2016, it is a reflection of people in both countries feeling disillusioned. And disillusioned people have dole thrown at them. So in India, the Congress party says, I'm sorry that you became poorer, but here's a little money. Here's the Manrega scheme, right? I'm sorry that you went hungry and you don't have homes, and there's so much black money in the system that the poor people can't buy homes, can't afford health, right? Can't give their children an education, while the people with black money can send their children with private capitation fees to all the colleges and universities and have a good time. And the Congress party will then say, I'm sorry about all this, but here's a little food. Here's the food security bill, be happy. And what happened in India was that the people of this country said, you can't throw food and a little cash at us. Similarly in America, Obamacare, the same situation. Absolutely. Concerns were raised over the implementation of Obamacare and Manrega. Concerns were raised about the implementation of Obamacare and the food security bill, over the implementation of these initiatives. And today, the poor are saying that we don't want to remain poor.
See what will happen.
No, the poor are saying you don't keep us poor and then throw us a dream.
No, Aruna, you withdraw Manrega and you will see what happens.
No, it's not about withdrawing Manrega, sir. In India, taxpayers make up 1% of the population, with just over 5,000 people who pay taxes in excess of 1 crore in our country. In the United States, Mr. Kancha Illaya, more than 45 million people live below what is the American poverty line, while 27 extremely profitable companies, 27 extremely profitable companies don't pay a single dollar in corporate taxes. So where were these so-called left liberals
you are absolutely
when this
right.
was happening? What is happening in America is a response to this.
And he got the response.
No, what is...
And so on.
So please think today, and I want to throw it to Sudhir, please think, why did Trump win despite being Donald Trump? Why did Trump win despite the misogynistic statements? Sudhir Mishra, you want to come in on that? Sudhir Mishra wants to come in on that? Yeah, Sudhir Mishra.
Arnab.
Yeah.
I think that's a very valid question. Why did Donald Trump, despite being misogynist, sexist, anti-black people, defining everybody as the other, why did he win? I mean, and that's a very genuine question which all liberals, Democrats...
What is this liberal thing which goes on? What is liberal?
They don't have their ear to the ground. They don't have their ear to the ground. There is a white blue-collar class which has been disenfranchised. Their jobs have gone away. Actually, it is anti-globalization. And
no, it's not. No, it's not anti-globalization. No, Sudhir Mishra. Sudhir Mishra.
Actually, the left and the right have got together.
No, Sudhir Mishra, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'll tell you, you're so wrong. You're so wrong, Sudhir Mishra. And you are making the same mistake. Allow me to counter you factually. You see, please don't believe that this is right and left. It's not. I'll give you a simple point. Okay? I'll give you a simple point. Sudhir Mishra, please understand. This is one point which I want to make here. Please understand, liberalism has never been pro-working class. Liberalism, so-called liberalism, has never been pro-people. It has always been elitist. As far as the left in India is concerned, and the left everywhere, it has lost its way. The left has eroded its identity. They don't have the courage to represent the people's voice. The individual leaders are comfortable being ensconced in an elitist bubble, like it has happened with the CPIM. The right has become the voice of the people, and the leftists and the liberals have no right to complain if the right has become the voice of the people. If the right has become the voice of the people and the left and the pseudo-left liberals have lost the way, I say these pseudo-left liberals have no right to complain. They didn't represent the people. Now, if the right represent the people, and let me give you one example, Sudhir Mishra, I feel very strongly about this. What have the so-called socialist or socialist-leaning or left-of-center governments in India done when the poverty line in our country during the UPA was drawn at 32 rupees a day? And what have the governments in the United States done when in their country the top 1% own 35% of the country's wealth? And then you want to tell me that Hillary Clinton cares more about the people of America, or Sonia Gandhi cares more about the people of India than the right does. The right has become the voice of the people, but look at the circumstances that has led to it. Look at the circumstances. Have a deeper analysis of it. Have a deeper analysis, and I'm telling you, statistics will not lie on this one. Statistics will not lie.
Analysis of this, and you are right that the left has abdicated its role. Which is why we are where we are, and which is why...
Okay, Kanchailaya, Sushant Sareen, I'll come to you.
Prime Minister begging Theresa May for visas. If this is not anti-globalization process in Europe, in America, why was Prime Minister of India begging?
I am saying, Kancha Ilaiah, open your eyes. The right has become the left today. What the left was meant to do, the right is doing.
No.
And what do you mean, no? You have to understand the circumstances in which this is happening.
The right is digging its own grave.
Tariq Fateh is on the debate. Tariq Fateh is on the debate. Tariq Fateh.
I spent 50 years of my life as a supporter of the communists. I am fed up with their alliance with Islamists. I'm fed up with every Marxist being a millionaire. I have not seen anyone stand up for the working guy. In fact, upper class leftists look down upon working poor as if we are riffraff. And this is the working people slapping the left in the face, and they will go with whoever.
Sudhindra Kulkarni.
Ideology prevails.
Opening the debate. Sushant Sareen and Sudhindra Kulkarni. Sushant Sareen and Sudhindra Kulkarni, please. Please,
Arnab,
Sushant Sareen. Yeah.
Arnab, look, this is not between right and left. This is between right and wrong. So I think that is something which is very, very clear to me. Number one. Number two, when you talk about what the media was doing in America or what the media did in India, I think I read a tweet today by an American scholar who said what the media was doing in the US was advocacy, not analysis. Precisely what has been happening in India also, on a range of issues. The third thing is, I would imagine, with all due respect to Mr. Sudhindra Kulkarni, that Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who's a PhD in Islam, probably knows a little more about Islam than what Mr. Sudhindra Kulkarni knows about Islam. So there is a problem, and the Muslims need to look that problem in the eye and sort this out, because the same religious text, whether distorted or not, I'm not even getting into that, I'm not a religious scholar, but I am saying that they are using those same religious texts perhaps in a distorted manner to put forward their point, and all these guys, even Mr. Rahmani and the others, will probably act as apologists, not counter them in the way it needs to be countered, or repudiate some of those texts the way it needs to be repudiated. The last point I want to make is that remember one thing, the old adage that all politics is local. The problem with most of these so-called globalized people is that they are so busy flitting all over the world that they don't understand that politics politics ultimately has to be fought at the local level. You have to address the local concerns, or you have to tell them how, because there are certain immutable forces of history, how they are going to address those issues.
Mr. Kulkarni, you should respond to all these points directly, please.
Which cannot work anymore, but by bringing in new kinds of employment, by bringing in new skills, they have to address those issues. The fact that they are so busy flitting all over the world and they are so busy wondering what the Japs will think, what the Indians will think, what the Europeans will think, not what the guy in Pennsylvania or Ohio or some other place in the US will think. That is the reason why they lost the election.
So they've lost the pulse of the people. Sudhindra Kulkarni.
Arnab, you raised
absolutely.
You raised two issues which go to the heart of all that's happening in the world today, United States and to some extent even India.
Mr. Chadian.
One is economic inequality, and the other is the rise of terrorism. Now, the right wing, although the traditional meaning of right and left has lost meaning, as Chari said and as you agreed.
Mr. Chari will respond to you,
But there has never been a leftist president in the United States in the past several decades. Now, if income inequality has grown in the United States
under the so-called left of center,
there has never been a left of center president either.
Yeah, sure.
But it is these the successive governments in the United States, they allied with Islamist radicals and extremists.
Yes.
First to defeat communism, and thereafter to invade Iraq, wreak destruction there, and this is one of the major reasons for the rise of Islamist terrorism in Iraq, in Afghanistan, elsewhere. So even the right wing in the United States has to do soul searching, and all those who are celebrating the rise of the rest. Rise of the right. They also have to do a lot of soul searching.
The real soul
because
searching.
the right has given rise to Islamist terrorism.
No. One second. Tariq Fateh.
You want the United States and elsewhere. Nonsense.
Tariq Fateh.
This is absolute nonsense. The destruction of Iraq in the 1800s by the Saudis came at a time when Israel and America didn't exist as a world power.
No, let's talk about the United States invasion of Iraq. Absolutely wrong, indefensible,
in Kerala had nothing to do with it.
Based on a falsehood. Please talk about that.
You think that 3 million
and that is the
3 million killed in Bangladesh was because of Iraq?
Islamic terrorism. Talk about the present, not the
Islamic
past.
terrorism in 1971 killed 3 million Bangladeshis, and you're suggesting that it was America that did it? What world do you guys live in? I mean, we've been slaughtering our caliphs since the death of Prophet Muhammad. 3 of our prophets were murdered, one while he was praying.
May I ask you
This is how we were born. As long as we do not see the mirror in our face,
counter from Mr. Kulkarni.
By placating them.
It is the right-wing presidents in the United States that have given rise to Islamist terrorism.
Don't try to do vote bank politics
because of their militarism, which has also given rise to income inequality in the United States itself.
Taslim Rahmani countering right now. Taslim Rahmani is countering.
Islam is not in governance only for 1 century, and there are. Only for 1 century Islam has been taken as a system of governance. Otherwise, for last 13 centuries,
there's one more point. There is one more point. There is one more point that I want to.
What do you mean? Aurangzeb was treating the
there is one more point.
His sons
without any alternative.
What nonsense?
And
Temur was
nobody could counter that
because of America.
Within this century, how many people have been killed?
The other point which I want to raise. Taslim Rahmani, 1 minute. I'd like to get
3 million by Pakistan.
I'd like to get now
3 million by Pakistan in 1971.
I'd like to get
500,000 in Sudan.
Professor Kaiser, Professor Kaiser and Seshadri Chari.
What world do you guys live in?
Professor Kaiser, Seshadri Chari, please. Okay, now,
there was a genocide in Darfur.
Gentlemen, I'm coming back to a moot point. 1 second. Calm down. I want to make 1 point. Seshadri,
I just want to make 1 point here. I think.
Can I say something, Arnav?
I think Arnav.
Yeah.
Arnav, I think it is necessary to bring the debate on right track.
On the right track?
Arnav, I think it is necessary to bring the debate on right track. Whether we like it or not, if you look at all the flashpoints in the world, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Palestine, Syria, you name it, and there is an element of Islam involved in all these flashpoints. If I say this in India, I am politically wrong. If I say this in US, I am politically right. That is what Trump did, and he won. You don't have to discuss it as right versus left, but the fact is what Trump has said is the right thing. He is not the right wing, but right thing. He has said the right thing and he has won. Let us remember, this is a lesson for the Indian electorate and the Indian political parties also. Call a spade a spade. You don't have to fight Islamic terror in the name of Islam. You don't have to fight Islam. There is no fight against Islam. But what we are saying and doing is fighting Islamic terror world over. And if I say this in India, I am a bigot, I am a Sanghi, I am a rightist, I am a warmonger, I am communal. If you say this in America, people appreciate and vote you as the president of USA. Period.
Can I come in on that and add one point to that before you come in, Professor Kaiser? Professor Kaiser, just understand this. You look at the situation from Awad Wapsi to JNU, what has been happening in Kashmir and now in the stone pelting, etc. Look at the parallels. In certain sections in America and in unfortunately certain sections in India, it has become fashionable to abuse the republic. It has become fashionable to disrespect the nation. And the rise of the right, both in India and in the United States, has as much to do with a much needed nationalism as anything else. Why will the right or the idea of nationalistic politics or nation first politics not rise when sloganeering for the destruction of the nation is described as freedom of expression? Bharat ki barbadi, tukde honge. Tukde honge. No, 1 minute. No, 1 minute. No, Professor Kaiser, you don't want me to say these things because it upsets you. Let me complete my point. Why do you want to censor me? This is the intolerance. This is the intolerance that when one journalist wants to speak up on a subject, you want to stop me, sir.
Nationalism is Arnab, listen to me now.
Sir, listen to me. I'll take 10 seconds. I'll take 10 seconds. Arre 10 seconds lagenge. Main kya itna galat bol raha hu? You listen to me, sir. You listen to me today, sir. Sir, today you hear me.
Domination of one religious community over
Nobody said one religious. I talk about nationalism. Don't bring religion in. Don't bring religion in. Don't bring religion into the nation. Don't bring religion. You are bringing religion. No. Seshadri Chari is countering you.
Political process. It is the cultural nationalism of the Sangh Parivar which has to be contested.
No, you are absolutely right.
Keep India going.
No, you are not right.
India's strength is constantly compromised the day you allow cultural nationalism to take
you are absolutely right.
Stage. It is this that you are not able to understand.
Sir, I want to make one point. Sushant Sareen is on the debate. Sushant Sareen is on the debate.
Arnab, the problem is, I completely agree with Professor Kaiser, but provided he was even-handed on this whole thing. Now, when I oppose the kind of sloganeering which happened in JNU, they will say you are being a Sanghi and you are practicing cultural nationalism. When I say I worship the motherland, they will say this is cultural nationalism, this is not nationalism. When in Kashmir schools are burnt, there is complete silence out here. When there are riots which happened in, say, Malda, or there are reports of temples being burnt and vandalized either in Kashmir or in West Bengal, there is utter silence. Then you have newspapers coming out with headlines like, and they hanged Yaqub. And they hanged Yaqub.
Yeah, some newspapers did that.
No shame, none whatsoever. And when you say that Yaqub Memon went through the entire judicial process, the judiciary went out of his way to find out his case, then you are accused of being a warmonger, a kind of a bloodthirsty Sanghi or whatever.
The point is,
when you talk about something else, where somebody else, they say, please don't label him as a terrorist.
Sushant,
he's not been convicted.
Sushant,
A guy who has been convicted of terrorism.
No. I want to on this. I want to give time. I want to give time. I want to give time tonight to Seshadri Chari, Sudhindra Kulkarni once again. You see, gentlemen, you came in when I was making the point. What am I saying here today? I am saying today that it has become fashionable to disrespect the nation. There is a growing nationalism both in the USA and in India, and I say it's good because in this country, when terrorists like Burhan Wani are described as victims of circumstances, when the presence of the national flag in a central university on an Indian campus is dismissed as examples of forced nationalism, when a section of the political class demands a proof of surgical strikes, when a section will question the existence of organizations like the Indian Mujahideen or even describe the Batlaos encounter as fake, then I say today enough of disrespecting the Republic. And what is happening today, sociological trends are similar globally. On that, Seshadri Chari, and I come to you, sir, after that. Seshadri Chari.
I think Arnav, what you have said is absolutely right. We are in a very funny situation. Very ironically, in this country, even nationalism is looked in from a colored point of view. There is communal nationalism, there is cultural nationalism, there is Sangh Parivar nationalism, there is leftist nationalism, and there is a Congress nationalism and a centrist nationalism. We are the only people who are divided even on the question of nationalism and the nationhood itself. So, as somebody very rightly pointed out, in the USA, the very undercurrent of anti-immigration is reflected in the form of nationalism. When you say, and again you are against anti-immigration, you are seen as a nationalist. Here if you speak a word about illegal Bangladeshis, even if the Congress Chief Minister of Assam speaks about Bangladeshis, he is seen as towing a right-wing line. It's very unfortunate.
Seshadri Chari.
We have to change our narrative as far as
Sudhindra
our idea of nationalism is concerned, idea of nation is concerned. Then we will be on the right track.
Last word.
See, commitment to nation.
You responded.
Commitment to nation is, there can be no compromise at all.
No, but there was a compromise by Hillary.
Just as America belongs to all Americans without any discrimination,
of course
India belongs to all Indians.
Of course, that's stating the obvious. Who's questioned it? Who's questioned it?
There are people who, on the basis of certain ideology, put themselves as more patriotic, more nationalistic.
He didn't say that.
But I want to say something else. This rise of the right is actually rise of the strong leader syndrome in many parts of the world.
Is that the only reason? Is that the only reason?
This morning, when before the counting began, there was an exit poll.
I don't think so.
And
I don't think so.
There was an exit poll where a majority of Americans said that we have voted for a strong leader.
It is not that simplistic.
And Donald Trump was in there. Of course,
it's not only that.
I'm not saying it's only that.
No, it's not.
But across the world, whether it's Erdogan in Turkey or even Narendra Modi in India, the strong leader,
I would say
people's desire to have a strong leader
I think there are,
is one of the binding factors.
I don't think that's the only reason.
In the phenomenon.
You have a right to have your point. I think there are 4 issues which come up. Point number one, when you analyze it, that you can't keep people poor forever and then claim to speak for them. Second, you have to take a clear position on issues of terrorism. Third, you cannot indirectly support anything that attacks the nation. Fourth, you can't throw some dole at people and expect them to vote for you. There is a deeper trend into what's happening, which we call the rise of the right. I think for those people who think they are left liberal, which as I always say is oxymoron, they should do some deeper intellectual analysis of what is happening globally. I'm grateful to all of you for taking part in this.
Let's see whether Donald Trump addresses all these concerns that you've raised.
Well, let's certainly see what he does. I certainly hope that he becomes less of a misogynist, but there's a greater issue that we've dealt with tonight, and I'm glad that we could interplay between what's happening in the US and what is happening in India. This has been a fascinating conversation. I thank you very much for joining me on debate number 2 on the News Hour tonight. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.